Nimish is here, who is going to talk to us around EPiServer running on what's now called .NET Core 1.0, I think. Who knows around that? Has anyone looked into that? You might know it's .NET 5. Yeah. No? Anybody know nothing about that? Good. So, one person. Okay, you can learn a lot, because there's going to be quite fundamental changes, I think, coming to .NET. And so Nimish is going to take us through some of those and also what EPiServer are doing to harness users. Is that right?
Yes. Cool. Okay, so first of all, I hope you'll enjoy yourselves. My name is Nimish. I'm an independent software consultant, and I'm here today to talk about ASP.NET 4.1.0, which we called .NET ABC5, and what EPiServer is doing to leverage this technology in the present and also in the future. So first, what we're going to look at today, so we're going to have a look at what .NET Core actually is. So most of you again has seen it. Who's using it? No? Okay. Right, so we have an introduction to .NET Core 1.0. See where we are today. Look at some code, sample code provided by EPiServer, which is still very much in development, and have a quick question and answer session. So, .NET Core 1.0 is a complete rewrite of the .NET system, and it's open source. So effectively, it's not an upgrade to .NET 4.6. .NET 4.6 is the natural successor of .NET 4.5. If you're using .NET Core 1.0, you're using the new .NET version. .NET 4.6, ASP.NET 4.6 builds over upon .NET Framework 4.6 and its framework libraries, whereas .NET Core can run on both .NET Framework 4.6 and its new Core 1.0 libraries. See what's new in ASP.NET 4 and ASP.NET 4.0. So this code is 1 year old. It's by Daniel Watt, program manager at Microsoft. With ASP.NET 5, ASP.NET has been reimaged, just like ASP was reimaged as ASP.NET in .NET 2002. So effectively, what they're trying to do is make a clear break of what is the current landscape of .NET and .NET 4, and develop a new framework, let's say, from the ground up. So it's got a new HTTP pipeline, which is quite modular. So you're not attached to IIS. So effectively, you don't need IIS to run it or IIS Express. It comes with a development web server called Kestrel. So you can run Kestrel, which is a cross-platform web server that runs in Windows, runs in Linux as well. So you can host your websites in Windows, in OS X, in Linux, CentOS, Red Hat, have you. The .NET Core binaries are delivered via NuGet, so you don't need to install a big runtime. You need to install a bit of runtime, but then when you're in your project, you reference .NET Core libraries, and they're all delivered via NuGet as packages. It's cross-platform, so the NX Core 5.0 it's cross-platform, so it's meant to run in Windows and in Linux as well. It's got built-in dependency injection, so effectively dependency injection is included out of the box, as well as other helpful functionality that comes with that. Its configuration system is brand new, so you, instead of a web config, now you have a config.json. We'll see how that works. The project model is completely different as well. So this .cs proj file has disappeared. Now you have a .x proj file and a config.json or project.json where you manage your dependencies and runtime, etc. Okay. You've got a few new utilities, DMVM, DNX, and DNU, which stands for .NET Version Manager, .NET Executor, and the .NET Utilities. So these are used to effectively manage the version of the runtime that you want to run your application. What's the default runtime? DNX is the command line tool that will allow you to start your website, The new utilities are utilities that allow you to pack or create NuGet packages, etc. for your website. There's also quite a nifty feature, which is dynamic compilation, which means that your code behaves, or your development can behave a bit more like front-end code, as in you can save your CS file, you can refresh the page, and it will dynamically compile in memory and load it. So you can see the new HTTP pipeline of .NET. Like I said, .NET Core ships with Kestrel, and that is effectively your web server. IIS or Nginx or Apache or any other web front will be responsible for gathering the requests and responses back to the users, and will serve as a front for what is for Kestrel effectively. For development purposes, you can just use Kestrel directly and hit it. You don't have that front, but for production, it is recommended to use IIS or Nginx. This is what Microsoft recommends. In ASP.NET 4.1.0, I think everyone will be glad to know that there is no more web forms, and MVC and Web API have been combined, so there's no longer a controller and an API controller that you inherit from. It's just a controller. That's all that for you. Now you've also got view components, which are it's similar to child actions partial views. It allows you to create some views in the components. It's supposed to be faster than child actions. That's some benchmarks to prove that. There's native support for client-side libraries. So in the current runtime 4.5, 4.6, if you want to include a client-side library, you can do it via NuGet, but it's a bit clunky. It puts it into the root or the scripts folder. NuGet's not the ideal package management tool to manage front-end packages. Now with 4.0, you can use Power or NPM, and Visual Studio has native support for those technologies. So as a rule of thumb, use NuGet for your .NET packages, use Power and NPM for front-end libraries. Asynchronous views, self-explanatory. Tag helpers. Tag helpers are essentially web helpers that will help you in generate your HTML tags. So if you want to generate a controller action link in HTML, there is a helper for that. Now, what EPiServer are doing? So EPiServer CMS is also being rebuilt from the ground up, as with .NET. And some of the things that have been done are switching to the NX-based projects, change the DI model, initialization engine to adapt to startup CS. We'll see what startup CS is, and make sure the CMS can run without that conflict, etc., etc. Rewriting the routing, routing handling, and template handling. So effectively, what EPiServer are doing is trying to leverage the new capabilities of .NET Core to make sure that the new platform of EPiServer uses best practices as defined by Microsoft, in this case for the new web projects in .NET Core. What's still left to do? Only the front-end part is running in .NET Core in long-term 4.6. The back-end, the CMS, edit CMS admin, that's still in what's currently live. Commerce Find, that's still in work. Admin board as well, and targeting .NET Core. So effectively now it's targeting runtime 4.6, but it's moving towards targeting .NET Core 1.0 in the future. Okay. Now, let's look at some codes. Okay. Okay, so now this is a CMS Core templates project, a sample template project that's built by EPiServer. This is currently in internal development, so it's not really available for external use. Now, let's look at what's been implemented so far in this front-end project. So now, first, as you can see, there is no web config. There was startup CS class, there's a package JSON, project JSON, build file, app settings, etc. So let's see how this all works together. First of all, we've got a project.json file. We remember I said a few minutes ago that the CS project has been rewritten into a new project file, which is the project and the project JSON. So what this project JSON file does is, first it can manage the dependencies of your project. So you don't really need to use NuGet, the tool NuGet, to manage your dependencies. You can manage them here, and it has IntelliSense. So effectively, if you want to add a new dependency, see it here. If you want to add a new dependency for example, but internet, so this is not going to work. But you can see we can add dependencies here. EPiServer2, for example, and version 961, and it's in. Okay, package still failed because I haven't got internet connection. But what this is doing is it will go to NuGet and reference your packages into your solution file. So effectively, in this file, you can manage all of the dependencies, and you have IntelliSense, and you can match and use the versions you mentioned here in this screen. You have the command section.
Can you zoom in slightly?
I can, yeah.
Okay.
This is okay?
Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. So you can see further down the frameworks that this project is targeting. So at the moment, the EPiServer templates are targeting DNX 4.6, which is the full framework, version 4.6. There's work in progress to make it work in .NET 5 or CLR 5, to make it full cross-platform compatible. But at the moment, it ships as is. We've got the publish, exclude, and exclude. So these folders are what are going to be used by DNU to actually see what's included and what's excluded in the packaging of your website. And we've got the web root folder, which points to the root, which is going to be the entry point of your website where you have your static files. One section, that's the left for last, is the command section. So what this section is, the commands that you define here are commands that are going to be available for you to use when you run DNX. So DNX is the .NET execution engine, and you will execute the commands that you specify here. You'll specify a namespace DLL and specify your command. In this case, the DNX web command is going to start a self-hosting server, a Kestrel server, in the URL localhost 5020. Let's look at the startup CS folder. Okay, so the startup CS folder is, let's say, the entry point or the start of your application. This is where you configure your dependency injection, or you call it dependency injection configuration, and configure the services that you want to enable in .NET. So let's see here. So once we call startup, we first start by defining what's going to be our configuration. So as you can see, web config has disappeared. Now you have app settings and config JSON. Config JSON is not here presently here, but yeah, any JSON file can be used and included here. In the app settings, it's what you expect. You put your app settings, configuration settings in a JSON format in this file. So there's no, you don't need to deal with a huge web config in XML that's usually readable and manage everything by JSON. There's also support for environmental differences in JSON files. So you can specify environment name, and you can have an app settings dev or test or production.json. At the solution level, there's also a global.json, which is also included, and where you can define global settings for all of your projects in your application. In this case, we define the permission of the SDK. The runtime is the CLR, not the core CLR, and 32-bit architecture. Okay. The other section that you can add is the add environment variable. So which means that when you define your settings in your configuration file, you don't need to put your secrets in here. So like API keys, passwords, etc. You can leave them out, and you can add them as environmental variables of your system, which means that you can reference them in your code, and the .NET runtime will try to read those configuration settings from the environment variables. So this way you can have different variables for each of your environments will. Another thing that you can do is have a secrets file. There's the .NET also ships with a tool called Secret Manager that will put your configuration settings in a secret folder in your computer. That's also another way where you can manage your configuration variables. In terms of services, when you start a new .NET Core application, it comes with nothing, absolutely nothing. You have to tell it what you want it to do. So in this case, this is .NET, services add MVC, we want to add MVC support for our application. Add CMS, this is an EPiServer2 to initialize CMS settings, where you pass the connection strings, database schema, etc. And other bits and bobs to get CMS going. Here as well is where you could start adding or registering your dependency injection. So what .NET has is built-in support to add automatic from an interface class to an implementation. And you can use methods in the services object called add scopes, add singleton, add transient, and add instance. And this will give you the equivalence of what you'd expect in a normal BI framework. Bit more configuration here, configure remote events, episode specific to enable messaging between servers. The other bit that's done here is startup. This to actually configure the startup, how do you want to host it. So in this case, we say we want to host our application in these URLs, localhost 5020, 6485, and 64376, with a bit more information that we pass to it. And also, if we need to import some sample templates into our website. Like I said, if you don't say you want it, .NET will not give it to you. If you want to serve static HTML files, static CS files, JS files, you have to use app.list static files. You need to define your routes and a bit of CMS configuration using use templates. Okay. So effectively, when you start a new application, you pretty much have almost nothing. You have to tell it explicitly, I want this, I want that, I want that, and then everything will plug together. Okay. Hello. So let's run this application. Normally you do F5, Control F5, go with .NET Core, the next one. You can see the restore. Okay, live demos never work, or almost never work. Let's take the exhibit out. This is what I had added. So this works. There we go. The next one. Okay, so now we've got our sample templates running and on HTTP localhost 5020. Let's start our favorite browser, Internet Explorer. Not. There we go. Sample templates in .NET Core. Starting from 4.6, yes, but still using the new technology from Microsoft. Right. Cool. Let's go back to the code a bit and see a bit more about what's been done here. So like I said, you have package project JSON, sorry, where you manage your NuGet dependencies for your .NET dependencies, really, .NET references. You have package JSON, where you define your npm dependencies. So for example, if you wanted to add handlebars, it's not going to work about internet connection, but this would query where you get all npm repositories and get the relevant packages as well as the versions available. It's unavailable, I have no example here. There's also support for Bower. If you have a bower.json, it will have exactly the same way. You can have your Bower dependencies here, and they'll be stored inside a lib folder in your application, and then you can reference it from your views. Great. So if we look at a controller, start page controller, you see that not much has changed. It's pretty much standard template controller for EPiServer. If we look at what's in the view itself, you can see a few things here. So first of all, we've got this H3 epic property heading. So these epic properties are actually the tag helpers. ASP.NET comes with tag helpers, so effectively when you use a tag helper here in your code, the .NET runtime will replace that with stylized tags, effectively. So in case of .NET, in case of ASP, you have the prefix ASP dash and then the .NET specific tag helpers. For EPiServer, we've got epi dash and then your tag helpers for to create your properties, page properties, render your content errors, etc. And it's as simple as running epic property, the name of the EPiServer property, and .NET and EPiServer will generate that for you. If you look at the start page, now we've got this tag here, playground for ASP.NET core features, has been generated by H3 epic property heading. Okay, let's switch to web browser. So playground for ASP.NET features, what we have here. So we've got H3 and the heading property of the start page has been rendered as an H3. Can everyone see? It's a bit small. Effectively, this got rendered as an H3, and then the text of the heading property was rendered as playground for ASP.NET features. And the same applies for the content link, generates an anchor tag, an image epic property with a content reference or image URL will render an image tag, an image here on the page. And for content links, another page, and so on. So effectively, it's pretty much like the old days. We have EPiServer properties. You have the data properties again in the form of tag helpers. Okay. Virtual codes, and we can also use the existing HTML helpers, like using HTML property. There's nothing stopping from doing that. Looking at another view. Where is it? Page. So we've got support for a partial sync. Effectively, we can run partial views in a synchronous mode, so your code doesn't have to walk for that partial to render, and you can run asynchronously. So it will be obviously a performance improvement. It's always nice to have everything running asynchronously. Looking at the other pages, we can see an example, other example. So we have a main area way have your standard block, where the block is rendered. A bit more of sample code where you can run C enumerator, run the enumerator, and run without. In terms of .NET Core, only the front-end templates have been worked on, or at least there's a package that's available for the EMVP to have a look at. What is distributed as the CMS and admin packages is still the existing .NET implementation, so that's still being worked on, and they'll be available in the near future. And that's pretty much it I wanted to present. Does anyone have any questions? Would like to know more about any part of curriculums looking?
There's no question but a request. We need an upgrade path.
Good luck. Another path. Yeah.
How are Microsoft suggesting that? Because it's a Microsoft problem, really, isn't it? Is there an upgrade path between, what's it, 4.6?
I would expect it's the same upgrade path as it is currently between web forms and MVC. Like I said in the beginning, .NET Core is a brand new implementation. It's not the next version after .NET 4. So it's pretty much like the project manager from Microsoft said from 2002. There was a break from classic ASP and ASP.NET. So at this point, it's not as big as a break as it might sound, but there's no one-click upgrade. I wouldn't expect a one-click upgrade between the websites, 4.6 or 4.5 to .NET Core.
So will there be two branches of EPiServer development, one for .NET Core and one for that's still going to support?
I'm not privy to that information, but I don't know if anyone from Microsoft can comment on that. But at this point, it will be. At this point, this is what we have. We have sample projects running with the front-end templates in .NET Core. I would expect, because Microsoft is supporting 4.6 and .NET Core 1.0 going forward, I would expect Microsoft to do the same. But well, who knows? Cool.
The IOC container, is that completely new or is it pluggable using instruction?
It's pluggable. It's pluggable. You can plug your own IOC if you want to.
By the way, if some plugin is built on the .NET 4.6, will we be able to use those on .NET Core?
So support for the runtime, you have to tell your application what framework you want to target. So if you want to use 4.6 libraries, you have to target the framework 4.6. If you want to target purely Core CLR, you can only use the Core CLR.
So if one of the plugins on our website will be using the .NET 4.6, so does it mean that we have to convert the whole server to .NET?
There'll be an argument that everyone that supports plugins that has plugins and wants to have a feature in the market will need to upgrade to CLR.
You actually turn into a salesman.
That's what does to you.
Yeah, it feels to me this is a bigger upgrade as a different stream, web form site and MVC site. I mean,
It is.
hugely different. What does this do? It allows you to run Microsoft apps on Linux boxes.
Absolutely, and it breaks that dependency, so you don't need Microsoft Windows, you don't need Visual Studio. You can code away .NET applications in your Mac.
And we don't need Windows also.
You don't need Windows now. You can have your Mac. You can use your editor of choice. Microsoft have released Visual Studio Code, which is also a free tool, and that is cross-platform. If you're a hardcore purist, you can use VI if you want to. Cool. No.
Good to know. So when will we be able to look at this?
This has been distributed to the MVPs only. I don't have an idea about timelines. .NET Core is still in beta as well. There's still a beta 2 waiting to come out. Should come out in the next month or so, I hope. Gold, the actual release version in the next 3 months, hopefully. Roadmap, but hopefully I would see it. I would expect it this year.
So this might be coming in the future, but one problem I've seen, and I don't know whether this is going to be impacted with EPiServer or not, but I've seen projects run where the new tag helpers, whether you mismatch a property, you don't get any error at all, and you don't get the IntelliSense come through when it comes to the tag helpers. Do you have any idea if that's going to be rectified? Because it seems like a bit of a backward step to having property forwards and models where you can got IntelliSense and strongly type and be given errors to then suddenly have no errors when you mistype a property name.
Surely that would be a good suggestion. If anything, could be like it was before EPiServer2, where if you didn't have a property, you would never say that there's no property called wherever in a template. So again, this could be a good suggestion for the product. Cool.
All right.
Who's going on and try .NET 5?
All right. Thank you, Dennis. Right. I think if there are any bits left